We're now joined by longtime Democratic strategist James Carville. He served as a lead advisor on Bill Clinton's presidential campaign, and he's the subject of a new documentary called Carville: Winning is Everything, Stupid, which chronicles his efforts to get President Biden to step down from the top of the Democratic ticket. James Carville, welcome back to the NewsHour.
Well, thank you. Always a privilege to be on the show. I'm a big fan, been a fan of it for a long time.
Thank you, sir. Well, let me just start by getting your take on the state of the race. There's a new NPR analysis out today in the 7 battleground states. It looks now like Mr. Trump has his first lead in the polling average in those specific battleground states since Harris moved to the top of the ticket. It's a microscopic lead, less than half a percentage point. But I just wonder what you make of that.
You know, everybody says this, but it's actually true. In every election but one in this century, both candidates have gone to bed thinking they have a chance to win the election, 2008 being the only kind of exception to that. And there's just the polling is tight, but what generally happens is that election breaks one way or another toward the end. And so we'll wait and see. I have no prediction or anything like that. I'm just trying to work as hard as I can, but everything indicates that there's tight polling everywhere.
Well, with 20 days left, what do you think it would take to break one way or the next? There's no sort of big events left on the calendar, right?
Well, I think that, I mean, to be honest, I think that Vice President, her campaign is getting sharper, is getting more visible. And frankly, he's getting, if anything, less attached to reality, even for him, than I've seen before. I mean, some of the stuff that he's out there saying is really wild. And then you had that weird rally, 39-minute, I don't know what you call it, but there's some, I think he's suffering from what I call dementia, or madness and dementia at the same time. There's considerable evidence that he's in pretty severe state of deterioration right now. And we'll just have to keep monitoring. And I think she's doing a little better. I really do.
I want to ask you about one piece of advice you offered specifically to the Harris campaign in an op-ed last month. You wrote this: to be the certified fresh candidate, Ms. Harris must clearly and decisively break from Mr. Biden on a set of policy priorities she believes would define her presidency. In your view, has she done that enough?
Well, she has an 81-page economic plan that she's looking forward. Like many other people, she was asked a question at town hall. She pointed to all the plan and the things that she's going to do. The truth of the matter is, President Biden has been a somewhat different president. President Obama was. We've been a somewhat different president. President Clinton was. But she has her own ideas. They're articulated. They're in a plan, and I think she can talk about that more and more. I do, absolutely.
And she's adopted a somewhat unconventional media strategy, which you just sort of referenced there, too. She's been going on podcasts like Call Her Daddy to directly reach millions of women, on Fox to directly speak to Republicans. There's reports she could go on Joe Rogan's show now. She's done Howard Stern. Are these sort of high-risk, potentially high-reward scenarios for her?
Well, I'm not worried about her anymore. She's gotten a lot better. She's performed at the convention. She's performed during the debate. She's been on any number of different media platforms, and she's performed well. I think what they're trying to do is get her in front of as many people as they possibly can. And the strategy that they decided on is that we're going to do a lot of interviews, and that's fine. And I'm seeing a lot more visibility from her than I'd seen between the debate and this past weekend. So I'm very encouraged that she's out. She's doing a lot of different kind of forums to talk to different kinds of people, and I think that's a good idea. And she's doing it quite well, frankly.
James, as you've seen, that the gender gap in this race is one of the defining features of this campaign cycle. You've got Harris with a 14-point lead among women, Trump with a 16-point lead among men. And we've seen that Harris's support with young men in particular has been sliding. What's your view on that? Why do you think so many men have trouble supporting her?
Well, let's just back up a second. What she's really doing well is with white college-educated men. I think that's a key demographic for her. It is true that she's not doing quite as well with young non-white males as we did in 2020, but she's doing better in other male demographics, and I think she's going to have to improve on that. Absolutely. And I've been very outspoken about the Democrats. You know, males are 48% of this electorate. We have to take it seriously, and I think we can do a little bit better, but there's no doubt that we're not hitting the numbers we need to among males.
James, I just want to ask you about the money in all of this, too, because the latest FEC filings show the Democrats have a huge fundraising advantage, especially over the last 3 months, over the Republicans and former President Trump. So in these last 20 days, what kind of a difference can that money make, and where should it go? Well,
first of all, if it didn't make any difference, everybody's trying to raise as much as they can. So somebody thinks it matters. But if you look beyond the money, you look at volunteers. I mean, if they're flooded with volunteers, Trump has no ground game. So we've never known what it means to have a robust GOTV effort, a robust voter contact effort. And every place I talk, the Democrats are really, really putting this together. And he's not putting anything together. I think he's trying to outsource some of it. But we do have a fundraising advantage. We have an enthusiasm advantage. We have a volunteer advantage. I think we have a visibility advantage, and you just got to keep pressing your advantages as you get closer and closer to election day. And hopefully these tied, what I tell people, polling is 48-48. That's just the way it is. And hopefully as we get closer to election, it'll break our way. That's the hope. I think it can happen.
It's always great to speak with you. Always great to hear your insights and your thoughts. That is longtime Democratic strategist James Carville joining us tonight. James, thank you.
Thank you very much. You bet.